Hello, welcome to Breaking Bread. It's just me this week, Diana. My co-host Terry has had something come up at the time we're recording, so I thought I would go ahead anyway because it's a great opportunity to explore kindness and being kind to ourselves and what that means and what that looks like. Over the last couple of weeks, Terry and I have been exploring what it means to be in the body and the body of Christ. We've explored the personhood of Hagar, and in the Advent season, we explored the personhood of Mary, the mother of Christ. And these women's stories we can learn so much from in our everyday, and they're often women that are overlooked and other characters more focused on. So if you haven't already, go and check out the Advent season. I said to the author of the book that we explored Mary's voice, it should say on the front, not just for Christmas. It is an incredible journey to go on to explore who Mary, the mother of Christ, was as a young person, into a woman, and up to the death of her son. And then Hagar, she was the bondservant, an Egyptian bondservant of a couple called Abraham and Sarai. She was the person to give a personal name to God which was the God who sees. And as I was reflecting on that episode and what's going on right now in the world and why things like diversity, equity and inclusion are really, really important, and how that links to kindness, not just kindness to others, but also kindness to ourselves. And in the work that I do with people one-on-one is when we want to make changes in our lives looking forward, we work with our minds, our intentions, but also our bodies and our spirituality. So body, soul and spirit, because we're all things. And I found in the work that I do, by about the third session, the T word would turn up. Big T, little t, trauma. And we all have that in our lives, and how that shapes us and how we can move and do things differently is so possible. But it's made possible more comfortably when we are kind to ourselves and we view ourselves as a whole person. Now, if you're in your midlife, you may well be experiencing the childhood injury that you had. I had one in my elbow, and it's come back to say, remember what happened when you were 9? Or a foot injury that I had as a really young child is coming back and saying, I've only coped for so long and now I need a bit of attention. And there's a chap called, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name, and it's a book that you may or may not be familiar with called The Body Keeps the Score. And there's another chap, Gabor Mate, who's written a book, I think it's called The Body Remembers. But it's the understanding that when we experience a thing, it's not just in our mind, but it's in our whole body. And if you think about, sometimes if you're listening now, maybe you're aware of tension in your neck or your jaw, you may have back issues or calf issues. There could be a myriad of things that you've learned to live with, where your body holds tension and you're kind of conscious of it. And you may deal with it, or you may just accept that this is how your body is right now. And if you live with a chronic disease, there's a whole different layer there, or a physical disability. So there can be a disassociation with our bodies. I think we've talked about it in that first episode of our Breaking Bread. I can remember that disassociation quite early on when I went to school. I used to love running and jumping, and I've still got a little carpet that I keep by my bed, and I called it the jumping carpet. And it was a factory sample my mum got when she was thinking of carpeting the house, and I loved it, and I would jump on it, and I didn't understand why people walked anywhere where you could run everywhere. And then school, and from quite a young age you're made to sit still. And I think it was by adolescence, I remember it was history lesson, and that was on Friday afternoon, and it was in our school's high rise. And I remember looking out the window on Friday afternoons, end of the week, and I literally felt like my physical body was dying, like that horrible feeling. And then when you go to work, it's much better now in the workplace, where you have standing desks. There's so many more accommodations. I've seen the most amazing chair that it's not a kneeling on chair, but it's a chair that you can sit on and swirl feet around and all sorts. It looks amazing. And when you're pregnant, the balloon to help your pelvis, there's all sorts of accommodations now in the workplace. But that kind of disassociation with your body and listening to your body can get to a place of being chronic, dare I use that word, when you are getting mentally more and more and more and more overloaded. And then your back might go, or your shoulder might go, something might go, where your body, you may have an ankle. I sprained my ankle and broke my foot last summer. And your body just says, enough, rest, stop, rest. Or at Christmas time was a classic one for me, where go, 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 stop for Christmas, flu would come on every time. I now do the flu jab. It's been amazing. And that's when you kind of are forced to listen to your body, you're forced to rest, and you are forced to be kind to yourself. Now, this being kind to yourself, what does it mean? It's not necessarily spa days or girls' nights out or going shopping or whatever. It's most impactful when it becomes a way of life and a way of being. And 4 years prior to the last year, it was really, really challenging time for me. And one of my sisters would say to me over, and she actually said it for many years, be kind to yourself. You are more than a parent, a partner, a sibling, a colleague. Be kind to yourself. And it used to slightly irk me because there was so much to do. I just felt, and I remember thinking, if I can just get everyone okay, or everything okay, or the house in order, I will be okay. When everyone else is okay, I'm okay. And I know it's not peculiar to me. I know that a lot of mothers experience this, but we also know that we're not in control of everything and everyone's well-being, even though it's really important to us, and we can lose sight of our own well-being. And even as I said, we touched on a lot of this in the first episode of Breaking Bread, I Am My Body. Even when there's pregnancy or conception, it's not, taking care of our bodies isn't just about ourselves, it's about the little human we so want or desire, and then breastfeeding and what have you. And then it's often not until crisis happens do we then stop, take a check. Okay, I need to be well. Because I often think of women as the heartbeat of the home. And if the heart's sick, it has a ramification on everyone around you. Because although you might think you've put everyone's needs before yourself, everyone's doing okay at the expense of yourself, your kids can feel it, your partner can feel it, your friends can see it, your colleagues can see it. You think you're masking, but actually you're carrying stuff that people are aware of. So this being kind to yourself isn't just waiting for that crisis moment. It's almost preemptive work and feeding into yourself and getting to a point where it's something that becomes a daily practice. And I love the term perfectly imperfect. So there's always going to be something with the house. Kids change all the time. Work has all sorts of different demands. Things happen, things crop up. And when when they crop up, it's kind of like how you've invested in yourself. You can really see the payoff then, because it doesn't feel as overwhelming. It doesn't feel so intense for as long when something happens. And how do you do that? I found when I was working with study participants, with people that were experiencing symptoms post-COVID infection that we now call long COVID, a lot of had been really physically high achievers. And it was so challenging having to pace themselves, to take it slowly, to have to rely on other people to help them with the everyday. So hard when you're so capable of doing it all, and having to learn to be kind to yourself. So for every one of us, that will look slightly different. For me, learning to be kind to myself with this adult diagnosis of ADHD and autism has probably been the single thing that has been the most disruptive in my thinking and my self-awareness. So something that really impacts my everyday, all day. It wasn't even explained to be a diagnosis what it is executive dysfunction. With this executive dysfunction, everyday tasks are really challenging. So changing the bed sheets, huge. And I remember posting about it, and this was probably part of my understanding and self-awareness of what executive dysfunction is. And I can't even remember the details of it, but it was about changing the bed sheets. Oh my goodness. And I had several friends say, oh, you just do this, you just do that. But literally, it is an epic challenge for me. And another friend of mine and I we're changing the bed sheets. I did this today or whatever. So it's just hard, and I have to take my time. Maybe I'll wash just the top cover that goes over the bed, just do that one day. Then I can strip the whole bed, but then I have to leave it for several hours before I can remake it. I just cannot do the whole thing in one go. It is so overwhelming. And before, when I used to push through, I can't express the level of mental pain and physical stuff that it would cause me, and the level of anxiety that would rise within me. So I'm kind to myself. I just do as much as I can cope with. And then, say, taking the laundry basket downstairs and sticking on a wash. If all I can cope with is moving the laundry basket from my bedroom to outside the bathroom door, I'll just do that and leave it. So that's my approach to housework. I will do as much as I can when I can. I don't do the whole thing in one go. I don't have a schedule. I have a rhythm. So I'll need to change the sheets once, probably with a week to, if we're pushing it to 10 days, within that time frame. I might do it more. I may go over, but it's a rhythm thing. I'm hoping that makes sense. But that's what I need to do. And that's what I'm doing to be kind to myself. And it's actually quite vulnerable sharing it to the big wide world, to say, no, I don't have a cleaning routine. No, I can't do stuff all in one go. I guess societal expectations of how you run a home. I don't know. But I used to be a bit self-conscious. And when I realised I don't have to do it this way, I don't need to change the bed sheets all in one go. I'll just do what I can right now. Or unloading the dishwasher. That's another one. Sometimes I will just go, right, I'll just do the cutlery. All right, I may as well do the small plates or whatever. And I end up usually tricking myself into doing the whole thing. But I'm very unlikely to then load it right away. So things get done, but it's always a little here, little there, little here, little there. That's just the way I work. And I go with it. And I'm kind to myself. And the anxiety around running a home has depleted. I used to do when I was supporting my mum with dementia, and she was in her own home and stuff like that. I remember doing these big weekly shops and cooking, and then meal planning and getting to 2 weeks. And when you've got so many people and just feeling like I'm crushing it, I've got this rhythm. And now I don't have to do that. So now every day when I take the dogs for a walk, I'll think, well, what are we going to have this week? And I'm the only one that doesn't eat meat. So I buy plant hood. Amazing. I will do a YouTube thing just on food. But I just buy a little bit every day, because little and often works well for me, and I'm being kind to myself. So there's that. And then back to the body and being kind to yourself with your body. And when I had a shift change in, I ought to go to the gym, I should, to I'm going to celebrate. I can't remember, it was social media that inspired me, but it was celebrating what your body can do, however little it is, and just doing it. And my word for the year, so this is only the second year I've done it, is last year was breakthrough, this year is joy. And the thing that brings me joy is dancing. And I just love Justin Netto. He's my favorite. I've come across all sorts of other people and music that they play and you can dance along to, that is just joyful. And it's only a few minutes and it lifts the atmosphere. And if the kid's around, my little Dashan hates it, so I have to carry him sometimes, but it's just a little bit. But new habits take time, and we know they take time. And I'm kind to myself. I haven't done it every day, but it's not about giving up. It's like, okay, I'll do it today. I'll just do it. And it might be, when they say with smoking, don't give up giving up, that's a negative. But in terms of positive, just keep on going, keep trying new things that you want to do to bring the change that you really want to change. And often by the time we get to midlife, which is where I am, will I live to 100? Maybe. My mother was 91. Maybe I could get to 100. I don't know. So is it midlife? It's just over. Midlife is a bit younger than what it is now, the number that we're given now. But we often think it's often a time that people pause and have a look and see what's working and what isn't working. So pushing yourself, pushing through is really, really important. And having that grit and determination and focus is really important. And it's still something that you can learn later in life. It really, really is. But being kind to yourself makes that determination and grit that much easier. And if you're a parent right now, there's such a focus on positive parenting to help children be persistent and get through and all of that kind of thing, which is very different to good job with everything or everyone's a winner, because everyone isn't a winner. Slightly controversial, but everybody matters. They're different things. They are really different things to explore another time. My invitation to you, as you're listening, is I really want to invite you to think about what things maybe bring you joy, what's in your heart that maybe you've tucked away, that you're not giving yourself permission that you want to do. Maybe it's you used to paint, or you've always wanted to write, or I don't know, the holiday, planet, the website, just one tiny thing of kindness to yourself towards a thing that you would really like to do, not the should or ought to or all those kinds of things, because those things, you might do it, but are you being really kind to yourself? Is that what you really want to do? So I know, get rid of should from your vocabulary. What's your heart's desire? And be kind to yourself. Something little, baby steps, because when you're changing, it takes time. And I'll often use this example over and over again. Nobody gets up one day and runs a marathon. You train, and you have good days and bad days in that training, but you get up and you train and you do your best. And I would say, in terms of our mental and physical well-being, because the two are so linked, just have an explore. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a really lovely, simple exercise. I created a nice little well-being sheet that I could do as a download on my brand new website. I'm moving it into WordPress so we can do things like this. That well-being sheet is, you write a thing that you would really like to achieve. I'm going to give the example of have a harvest from my Lottie this year. I have to. I've had that allotment for 5 years. I've had one harvest. And then to have a quote to support why I want to do this. And there's a lovely lady that I follow on Facebook who is in New York. And she has a tiny garden, and she posts the best little baby step things that you can do every day to get this amazing backyard garden. So if she can do it and she's encouraging me, I can do it. So I'm going to find a quote from her. So I want to harvest in 2025 from my allotment, and I'll get a quote from her. And then I'm going to think of 5 reasons why I want to do that. So really understand my why for doing that. And I can't remember the rest of the exercise, but it's essentially to reflect. I can't remember the other bits of the exercise, but then on the daily thing, the daily practice. So whilst I've got this goal for 2025, I've got my inspiration, and then I've got my why. What am I doing in my daily practice? And it's not something that I will just think of maybe once a week and think to go. What am I doing in my every little day, in terms of my deliberate practice, that's going to move me towards my harvest for 2025? And I'm putting it out there. I'm going to be really accountable to you. So within that daily practice, I follow prayer every day. I don't journal every day, but that's something that is so helpful in raising personal awareness. I do a lot of writing, and I'm putting that writing on my blog, on my website, which is why I'm moving to WordPress, so the words can do the work. I've started writing articles on LinkedIn, and I'm going to put stuff on Substack. But the reason I write is because it helps me to raise awareness, self-awareness, and share those thoughts with other people. So the words do the work. And as Terry and I often explore on this Breaking Bread episodes, is it's not about the story, it's about the person reading the story and how they see it. So those words that I write, you will see it in some other way, but it's raising awareness for me. So there's also the thing that I do every day, and it's sometimes part of my focus prayer time, but it's a separate exercise. It's just listening. Just sit and be and give the space to listen. And that awesome book, which I don't have up here, is, and I didn't bring the other books up, so I'll just put the links in this podcast notes, because we've mentioned it before, The Body Keeps the Score. This lovely woman, I can't remember her name, Florence Given, Women Living Deliciously. And I'm losing my point about the everyday, about the listening. Yeah, I was just reading in that book, about we all have that inner voice, and a lot of people's inner voice is an inner critic. But there's another voice that is louder, but softer and more gentle, that is encouraging, and it is that voice of guidance. So just sitting and listening and reflecting, we can all do it. And I'm going to write and do a piece on why you don't need ayahuasca to do that. It's possible for everyone. You just need to learn how. So if you practice every day just with the listening, you'll be amazed. And if you couple that with journaling, it only needs to be a sentence. You may only get a few minutes on the toilet, but just try listening a little bit every day. And then, because I'm so into exploring and embracing and embodying our body, souls and spirits, do a little bit of something intentional. So whether it's a little dance to something you love, whatever it is, I love disco, whether it's a walk, whether it's just running up and down the stairs to let off steam, just do something. So a little bit and often really works for creating that space for kindness in our lives. So I hope that invitation to you lands somewhere for you. And I would love to know what you do. And I would really invite you to get rid of the should, place it with be kind to yourself. And let me know how it goes. And as ever, there's an invitation here. Please like, comment, share, follow. It all makes a big difference to the community that Terry and I are seeking to create, a place of curiosity and kindness. Yeah. So thank you, and join us next time on Breaking Bread, where Terry will be back and we are going to explore the life of a woman called Leah, the unloved woman, and exploring rejection. So thanks for listening, and be kind to yourself, and see you next time. Bye.